production elements with the purpose to diminish the period of transition from conventional products, and we are able to submit our products to the certifying company to be certified as organic producers of honey, and those are elements that facilitate a little bit more the certification process. One of the main issues we considered was also this environment protection policy. We have Tarea Vida, which has an impact in the protection of forests, shores, natural resources, water, plants, flowers, and we also have the national system of protected areas for the protection of all these resources. As you can see, our country have natural parks, 6 biosphere reserves, and some other were heritage and some IVAS areas. We have this bee production in a healthy environment and diverse environment to be able to achieve results that we have been planning. This protected areas system are under Decree 2001 from 1999, in which they established the categories, the eight categories of protected areas, which are harmonized with the International Commission for Natural Reserves. And in this regard, we have 8 categories: natural reserves, national parks, ecological reserves, natural elements, flowers, managed reserves, fauna shelters, as well as natural protected natural landscapes which are protected. And all these principles are in these 8 categories, giving possibilities to the organic productions in our country, which are distributed in the national territory, as we said in the prior lecture. We have been able to achieve certification process in the last 21 years, when we have been perfecting and enhancing our productions. Since with the integration of different systems, and we have the main pillar of quality control, we have safety of food safety. We have been able to achieve good condition of hives. We have the organic system assessment, which is always analyzing these kind of activities, and all these under a risk analysis, risk management process. We make great efforts to work with doing prevention to achieve better results and not to have an unleashed of situations which are negative for the development of any kind of production. Apiculture or beekeeping in Cuba is in good health in this working system, and this enables us to enhance our organic productions, considering that all these systems are led to achieve a main purpose to identify the needs of our clients and to satisfy the needs of our clients, both nationally and internationally speaking. We'll be speaking about the different systems. As we said before, we have the comprehensive quality management, which is present in our country, considering Resolution 60 from the year 2011, doing prevention. We are implementing a system since the year 2011 with the Cuban ISO system, and the quality on ISO 9001 from the year 2015 about quality management. This enables us to identify all processes. We show you the process map about our integrated management process, direction management process, and the main processes we have is the collection, the benefit of bee honey, and also the containers used for these processes. We have then as well some other process like management, direction management, that might develop as well some quality assessment to achieve high quality in our products. And this is an element that supervises and controls the organic certification, and is a mandatory requirement to be able to develop a values change for food products. And also bee honey, which is to be safe, to assure the traceability of their product. If expected results, since that is the most important resource we have to deal with in our company. Internal services, requirements in industries, as well as other equipment which are needed in our industry. And this leads us to be satisfied, to have the satisfaction of our clients. As a comprehensive knowledge, a high percentage of our productions are led to international use, mainly to the European Union, mainly in Germany. This is something else we have used. It's a definition of the value chain of the apicultural company in Cuba, mainly in bee honey. Since the first stage, which is the source of raw material, and the knowledge, which is so important in the producers. The raw material source are the areas where these beekeeping activities are developed. We do that in favorable areas due to the wild plants from which the bees take the necessary raw material, since there is no use of fertilizers or chemicals. The providers of these chain of these products consider all these chain values until they get to the purchasing or acquisition of these products. This enables them to achieve the final result, which is buying and commercializing high quality products. Activity number 4, which is the use of the activities of the beekeepers. Those are primary activities where we have the work done for the harvesting and the production of honey, the transportation, the compiling of these until the special units, economic units, compile all this quantity of bees until they get to the storage areas. There is a production where we test the quality of the product and we take them to the industry and to the storage of raw material. And the 100% of raw material is used to benefit the product, like the leaking, the classification, to be able to achieve a product with the same features. This is done taking some samples, some specific products. We do physical, chemical, waste tests to be able to analyze uniformity, as well as to take it to phytosanitary certification, and then we take that to the market to satisfy the needs of the clients. We can take this to the plants for them to take it to containers where we put the product, and the commercialization is done mainly by the apicultural company in Cuba for exports. And Cuba by 3 export company, Apicuba as the main authority on exporting. We also have Cuba's Pole, which is one of the companies we used to have, and Cítricos Caribe, which is the other company in charge of doing the commercialization. And we do this about the apicultural activity in charge of this commercialization. We do that in some stores of our country directly for the client and the consumer. And some companies use these honeys to create some specific products So we have identified the main vulnerabilities of our chain of values. So we have identified the risks. We have traceability. We also have to achieve safety of this product in our country. We also have regulation of the authorities which are assessing the quality to meet what is established in the legislation. And we have great control of this kind of products also from the viewpoint of animal health and public health to be able to achieve the principle of One Health, which has been so much promoted by the WHO and the World Labor Organization, to have healthy human populations considering the origin of the food origin. We have been able to identify the risks we have as well as the safety of the products, and we have assessed and make three categories. In 54% of the risks we have identified are medium or high that have an impact in the product. This is a natural product, the one we produce, and any change of mispractices, malpractice we perform in the transportation or storage are not able to eliminate any waste of pesticides or antibiotics from these products. This is a natural one and cannot be submitted to any treatment or preservatives so that the product might be commercialized as honey. 22.7% of the risks have no great impact, but we have to analyze them and to avoid them to turn into high risks. And we consider that these risks, which are 44, we have identified in the chain of values. We have taken 106 different measures or activities to palliate the impact of those, and the risks are to be eliminated from our chain of values. So we have this prevention work done to avoid the product to be polluted, contaminated with any of the elements I mentioned before in this beekeeping chain. Another element is apicultural or bees health. It's impossible to have quality without having healthy bees population. So we have implemented in our country for many years now, and with a specific scheme and logical way of thinking for doing prevention and control of diseases which are transmissible to bees. This is what we call the managed control to achieve healthy hives, to having the greatest production potential. And we have 5 main activities. Number 5, which is use of some healthy products or pests, is used. And for more than 15 years in Cuba, we have not been using any treatment of chemical synthesis or organic products to control pests and diseases. Element number 1, which is fundamental, is that we have to know and control bees population. And for that, Cuba have a census of beekeepers, which is registered before the national authorities and the national system, this National Center of Animal Health. And then this enables us to have a census of all these beekeepers in our country, and also to distribute them in places where there is no competition for the food source. So there is to be a balance between the amount of wild flora and bees which are living in a specific area. So we analyze the risks that might be transmitted by different other elements contaminating the bees' life. So the bees' populations should be fed enough, and this should not be one of the main sources of diseases. We all know that health comes to you through your mouth, and this is also considered in beekeeping activities. We have diversity of flowers, we have nectar, we have pollen. We are able to collect three signs of different quality, and these enable the bees to be resistant to diseases, and also the food is not one of the main sources of health problems in apicultural activities. One of the main elements is also to increase genetic conditions of our bees. In this company in Cuba, we are advised by 81 centers specialists, and they are certified by the enhancements of bees in our country, and Adolfo explained this before. This allows us to have a genetic material with a number of characters that establish this selection process, mainly in these resistant bees with hygienic conditions, responding to harvestry seasons, very damed bees, and this leads us to have a genetic material of high quality to these queen bees hives, and we are able to reproduce this material that are considered queen bees commercialized for the commercial use, the use of these beekeeping activities in Cuba. We also have a principle in our country to ensure good production practices and animals' well-being. We have these apiaries, we have safe sources of water, and we are to create all the conditions to have a good production. Among the good practices, we have many, but we would like to have some, like the chamber of raising or growing these bees. We also have the change of the queen bees, done this in a shorter period according to the blossoming times, and also considering the features of the different provinces. We also have the elimination of infections in the hives and all the anti-beekeeping elements, and the castration of these bees. Those are some of the elements we consider to achieve results and organic certifications, which are so important. Another activity was to use biotechnical activities to control invasive diseases like rust and some other infectious and contagious diseases. And the one we use the most in Cuba is in the case of the rust, is to using the drone and using adult albaros in the population, as well as some other biotechnical activities. This is a holistic approach that is aimed to epidemiological triad between the susceptible animal, the biological element, and the environment. And this is achieved with the results as well as the good implementation of this comprehensive management in our veterinary services. And an important element that enables us to have this certification is also the harmonized work we have done, where we have a list of substances which are prohibited to use in this context, as well as the context and the environment we are to achieve for the bees, the requirements for the treatment of diseases, to be an organic producer. And this is taught to the producers all the time. And there is also a code of sanctions, so they know when they do not meet requirements that might be punished And for this, we have an ecological manual. The classification of ecological honeys in Cuba. I put together all these documents which are leading internal control. This internal control system is led by the apicultural system in Cuba, and they have the support of the beekeeping system in Cuba, where they have internal rules as well that made up this national control system. For this, we have monitoring to analyze the internal control we have in all the projects we are developing, and we have 15 projects where they certify the three benefiting plants, the different basic economic units dealing with beekeeping as well as internal control and the territories and the monitoring of 100% of the beekeepers who are certified and proposed to be certified in coming years. For this, we have inspectors courses with the support of the certifying agency, this system of internal control. For this, the beekeeping industry in Cuba have a hard training process. Some beekeepers have complex structure. Some of them are professional, some of them are and attain this knowledge in an easy way. In our provinces, we have training courses and have a representation of ecological producers, and then they exchange their knowledge, best practices, future projects to be able to achieve a better working together in a short period of time. 87 producers representing 452 tons of 1,000 tons of honey in Guamá municipality in Santiago de Cuban provinces. We have also high production, and the organic production was also including new members in the eastern part, where they have more mountains with less level of risks considering the topography of the lands. So we also organize this system of protected areas, and these leads the beekeepers to attain better results in this transition period. We included Manicaragua, Villa Clara, 9 producers. We also included 11 producers from Matanzas, 2 producers in Sandino, and this is a result of the strategy that after the implementation enabled us to increase little by little the number of beekeepers with the results we mentioned before. There is a representation of the map of Cuba, where we can see the distribution of the organic certification board. In the 3 regions of the country. We still have to work hard, and there is potential, we know, in Artemisa, in Mayabeque, in Ciego de Ávila, Camagüey, in Las Tunas provinces, the rest of the provinces, and also we are to work harder in Isla de la Juventud, where they have the Isle of Youth, where they have these beekeeping activities. We have achieved organic certification. We propose the zones where they meet all the standards for this certification.
Bueno, entonces, esta estrategia.
This strategy, as you can see, this is the whole history of producers and those that have been certified since the year 2001 up to the year 2021. There is an increasing process up to 2007. In 2007, there was a diminution of ecological producer. Consider the plantation of coffee, which were plants considered in the technological packets, and some fertilizers and chemicals were used. And then this diminished the number of producers, which were under the risk of more than 400 certified producers. This was stable up to the year 2016, where we opened a new strategy that enabled us to see other potentials in other territories of the country to be able to achieve this certification. And we see the important increase in the number of hives as well as beekeepers, and we have more than 640 beekeepers in the years 2019 and 2020. And the number of beekeepers has increased and have been certified under these rules. When we increase the number of certified producers, then we were able to increase as well the number of certifiable hives. So the control in 2021, we closed with an amount over 58,000 hives. So this represents more than 20% of the national park, of the national amount of hives existing in the country. And in the last years, we have been able to increase. There is a trend for the increase of the number of hives. So we have the possibility to increase the production levels, as we can see in the coming slide. We see this production, ecological honey production, and the controlled environment. They have some good and bad points. This is under the impact of meteorological disasters, mainly in hurricanes of high intensity, that brings the bad negative impact that takes about 3 years to recover the productions. In the year 2009, we were able
in the market in Brazil. They prefer kept them under dark and humid conditions. Once a week, they open the containers so that they can release the gas resulting from fermentation, and they do this during a period from 3 or 4 months. After that time, this fermentation is completed. This product is at this point stable, and from the taste standpoint, there are also some alcohol taste, and the flavor are stronger. And based on the different analysis that we have conducted in our country, bearing in mind the result, or bearing in mind the trading of this type of honey at very low levels, we have to say that some clients have really accepted this type of honey with this type of peculiar feature. We have technology at present to keep the freshness of the honey, so that we can use fermentation, of course, to favor the production. So it would not be a problem, something that may minimize the quality of this type of honey that got the pollen. This is very important. There's another article of 2018 where we see a comparison between Apis mellifera and Melipona becky from Cuba. And what was the result obtained? A higher and we have to study this in depth so that we can further develop new lines, new natural products. These, of course, antioxidant activity is very important to, of course, fight against all these oxidating stress in the human body. So it's interesting to, of course, notice these effects. Although we not only have these within the honey, in the case of the batumen or girl propolis, resulting from these type of bees, there are some assessments conducted in Cuba as to the alcoholic products, and there's a potential to develop natural product with high antimicrobial activity. This is a distinctive feature because the World Health Organization, also PAHO, have consider this issue, the resistance to antimicrobials, and this is a top priority for them. And there's some resistance that has been developed in the bodies. I mean, are microorganisms that produce diseases both in humans and animals, and this is a serious problem because the capacity of industry to produce new medication, new molecules is very limited. And quite often, when it comes to research work or development of a product, it can take to up to 10 years. So if we have natural products that have a high chemical combination, and it's very difficult that microorganisms might establish different routes to generate resistance, and this is interesting. And also, this rumen, this wax that has a high propylene content, can also be used in the medical industry. In the beginning, when we talked about the different parameters of this type, although this activity is urban or suburban, in the analysis that we have conducted, we have noticed no result or no presence of pesticides. And another distinctive feature, if we compare to other species of bees, they don't have infectious diseases. They're highly resistant to infectious diseases. Therefore, there's no need to use. We know that by law is forbidden to use antibiotics in the beekeeping. In the case of the Melipona species, this is a very healthy production, and these are products that have a great potential to be inserted in new markets. And of course, for that, we need to develop specific standards for this type of honey. We have to come up with a characterization. In our country, we have a draft, the standard that will enable us to insert this product in the formal traded circuits for this type of honey. And here we have some samples of Melipona honeys, mostly coming from the Brazilian market, and this is the leading country when it comes to development of technology and the inclusion and the development of standards for products coming from natural animal origin. And we see the increase in trading of these natural products, and it's always increasing. So the Meliponas, we can have interesting experiences with the trading of these products in our country. Well, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you. And I would like to share with you this, of course, stingless bee in this bee producing flower in our country. It's very important. I thank you all.
Bueno, muchas gracias, doctor. Si alguien de los que nos está viendo,
Is there any question about the Meliponini honey?
muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
honey in Cuba is favored, but all these elements have been included in demanding markets like the European one, contributing with important profits to Cuba. The need to add and diversify this production of honey, considering the flowers which are present in Cuba, is a strength which is not properly used and demand the knowledge and technological discipline in production chain. It's a way to take advantage of these potentials and producing monofloral honeys, which are better sold in the international market, considering preferences and specific features by the client depending on the honey they are demanding. Monofloral honey or specific honey is the one that comes in high percent from a specific kind of a flower or plant, or by the identification of smell or essence features. In this beekeeper conditions, we have to consider different ages of the country and also the physical and chemical, sensitive, paleological contents. So 8 kind of monofloral honeys have been considered, including almonds, soplillo, black, mangrove, purple and white campanilla, and we include as well the part of the month in which, or the year in which these flowers are blooming, the pollen conditions, as well as the sensitive conditions. We show now the more characteristic features of each of them. For one of the flowers that grow in the shorts, in the dry and high shorts, with yellow petals, and these kind of flowers which also visited by bees, and the blooming time during January and February. The different fields in the countryside are appearing in the fields. Then we see the honey with the clear or light amber color, and 30% of pollen included in this honey. Now about the physical and chemical characteristics. The characteristics and the value are 30% content of pollen and low contents of conductivity that appear from 0.12 to 0.27 compared to the polyfloral honey that includes 0.8 millisieverts per centimeter. In the case of the honey coming from almonds, this is a tree, Siderosilon salicifolium is a tree that appears in the coasts and away from the sea. In the western part, in Pinar del Rio, and Las Villas, it is called almond, wild almond, and almendrillo. In some places of the eastern part, if blood of women, and in the rest of the island is a more general name foya. The blooming part is during February and March. It has light amber coloration, very bright, as well as floral smell and taste, and it has 30%, no less than 30% of the content of pollen from these species. When we talk about the physical and chemical features of these, it has the same pattern when we see some lower values of humidity, conductivity, and acidity. In the case of soplillo, this tree blooms in Matanzas province, specifically in Zapata swamp, mainly in March or June. Soplillo blooming in favorable conditions and high density of trees gives a very high content of nectar. That's why it is considered one of the fundamental plants to create honey. However, bees do not take much of its pollen because of the features of the taste, which is salty. We have homogenic characteristic, bright and transparent kind of honey with a light amber color. It has a sweet smell and a salty uh, taste, and the content of pollen is no less than 30%. In the physical and chemical honey, Soplillo honey, we have the same pattern, and we can speak about the conductivity of this honey, which is higher compared to the polyfloral honey. Then we can talk about the Wow de Costa, which is a plant grown in keys, shorts, and plain terrains. It can reach up to 35 centimeters of height, and it's grouped in the flowers are to the top of the trees. It is very important in harvesting season. It is growing. The flowers are giving abundant nectar, which is easy to be reached by the bees with high concentration of sugar, and it's also very attractive and useful for beekeepers and for the insect itself. It has an amber color, this kind of honey, a flavor that reminds a chamomile and a salty touch. About the physical and chemical feature of this kind of honey, has the same pattern with values that are seen in the parameters here, which are lower to the values which are reported by polyfloral honey. In the case of the dark mangrove, different species of mangrove which live in salty waters which are subject to flooding. Black mangrove is a perennial kind of plant with small flowers growing in groups in the top of the branches. It's blooming from April to August, but not all the time nectar is present on it. So it depends on the regular behavior of rain in the first months of a year. Blooming of these species is not simultaneous in all the country, but it starts to the south from western to eastern, from north to south, and it's mainly seen in the provinces of Pinar del Río, specifically in Concepción del Sur, in Camagüey, in Santa Cruz, and in Caibarí, Villa Clara. About the sensorial features, it has bright, almost blurring with yellowish color and a salty touch. Now when we speak about the physical features, we have the same pattern with the values which are lower than the ones present in polyfloral waters. In the case of Indian liana, which is a specific kind of plant that grows in low-level plains or lands. It has this interest is specifically used in this beekeeping process, and is part of 354 species of the flowers we have in Camagüey. The sensorial features of this honey are it's homogeneous, bright, transparent, and with an intense, dark amber color. It smells like wood, and the taste reminds the Asian tunnels form. About the physical and chemical features of these honey, it's the same pattern where we have the conductivity which is high, and the values are lower than the ones reported by the polyfloral in the polyfloral honey. About purple campanilla is also this kind of small flower, which is part of the convolvulaceous. It's a flower like a bell with a different color, and in this case we have big flower leaves in the plant, which grows in any system of plants with high temperatures, and this species might grow easily in tropical and subtropical kind of atmosphere. It's used in cross pollination. This kind of honey is homogeneous with light amber color. It's a smell which is sweet smell with a flower touch which is now easily found. In the physical and chemical features, we can say that these honey have the same pattern than the honeys we have mentioned before, in which the values are lower than the ones present in the multifloral or polyfloral honey. And last but not least, we can talk about the white bellflower as one of the main sources of honey in Cuba due to its extension, fast growing, high capacity of adaptation in different lengths, and grain blossom process, nectar, and concentration during drought. And most of the total production of honey in Cuba is taken from this kind of flower. The main features of the honey of this flower is bright, transparent honey, and extra light honey, extra light amber color. It's the main taste is like caramel or sweet food, and the physical and chemical feature of this honey is containing lower values of this honey compared to the ones present in polyfloral honey. In our institute, we have a quality control lab to guarantee the quality of this natural product that meets the specifications of the rules which are internationally established. Then we also have a condition of accredited lab according to ISO rules 1725 from the year 2017, and the general requirements for the competition of essay labs and calibration essays since the year 2012. We have 6 techniques credited in the physical and chemical lab, and we also are trying to take this certification to HLPC and microbiology labs. However, to be able to have a high quality product satisfying the needs of the clients, it is necessary to work together and to be organized in all the parts of the chain in this production chain with specialists of quality, those who benefit the honey. And in this institute, CIAPI, we work to include some other flowers and some other essays and trials to include some possibilities to the manager to include high value, added value to these products. Thank you.
Now, the speaker will refer about the trading of honey. You have the floor. It's a pleasure to have you on this online conference. I've had previous speakers who have referred to the flowers and the Cuban bees, and we have very beneficial yields. This yield is what we use for selling this afterwards. We work in the foreign trade department of the beekeeping company under the umbrella of the Ministry of Agriculture. In our presentation, what we're going to convey to you is the structure of the technological facility of our company, mostly having to do with the trading of the final product so that consumers in the retail network they can have access to our honey. I have an image here of one of our plants, of our packaging plants. They're semi-automatic plants. They have a packaging capacity a month of up to 80 tons. This plant is flexible. They receive the honey in 350 kilogram containers, and we follow all international standards, and we pack the honey that is high quality in flavor and of course image. What we try to illustrate here is the wide range of bottles produced by our plant, the one I referred to before. There are different container bottles that you see, different formats: 150, 340, 500 grams. We have the Teddy Bear brand. These are some that are cylindrical of different sizes and grams. The greatest is 1,500 gram. We have 1 liter containers, and the gourmet range that we have is the glass bottle or container with a certification at the top. It has a kind of beehive image. In this bottle, all the quality of the honey is standard in all our cases, but, and this is one specifically, we tried it to be not only polyfloral, but the organic and monofloral honeys. As you have heard before, there are several colleagues who have referred to the melliferous honeys and the flowers in the Cuban production, and based on this, we have, of course, prepared these presentations for you. Well, what we want to highlight here is the characteristic of the Cuban honey. The organic certification. We have the Cobio 154 that is issued by the French company. We have also one of our brands that is a leading. You see there that might prefer one or the other brand, just to give them a choice to have a different image. As we highlighted before, honey. Now we're going to see these afterwards. We have here some of the flowers, the wild flowers that we use. We see the characteristics of Cuban beekeeping. These are all melliferous honeys, as we said before. These are honeys that where we have lower temperatures, the highest harvest. We Bejuco de leña is another wildflower. April, May. We have the mangrove also. We have different flowers. and we see the mixture of the quality of honey, and the flavor is exquisite. Of course, sweet if we do the polyflora, but in the market we also include monofloral honeys, mostly based on the work of the research. We want to share with you is to share with you all the products that we get out of the hives. We use this hive. We mix the products so that we have not only an added value to this product, bearing in mind the efforts deployed by the bees, but also to convey information about health issues, nutritional issues for human beings, starting children, women, and men. And we use different mixtures that are not unique, to Cuban products, but of course we have different formulations and the mixtures of honeys, propolis, and different types of products, the so-called the royal honey, and we have specific formats, and the glass bottles are of amber color to protect the honey from these being damaged by the sunlight. So these products have been very well accepted, not only by Cuban nationals, and it's so important, of course, to distribute, to sell these in Cuba. We have different specialized stores where we sell the type of products. We, of course, promote the products that you saw before, the polyfloral, organic, or monofloral honeys, as well as these mixtures that we produce. Each of these mixtures have specific commercial brands or names trying to catch the consumer's attention. We call it by different names like Propoforte, Apiasmin. I mean, we're trying to establish a relation between the mixture and the information of these products and the nutritional value of these products. When it comes to the international market, where we sell all these products, as we included in our presentation, our first presentation, when I share with you the images about our packaging plan, where we already talked about the flowers, the wide range of products. And thanks to all this, we reach out to the international market. Cuba is present also in the international markets for over 30 years, mostly in the European Union. This is a strength for us due to the requirements imposed by Europe, the phytochemical standards with you early. So we have joint businesses in the honey packaging plant. We're open to engage in partnerships with any partner that would like to engage in an association with us. I think this is a good opportunity. We have an important volume and market directly. We are talking about over 10 million tons, and when you pack this honey in containers, we're thinking out of. We also want joint trading and distribution. We were interested in promoting our commercial brand or a local brand, and we could also favor this possibility. We are trying to be a win-win approach. We look for partners in which we could share this possibility, not only when it comes to tackling these markets. The other possibility is to open our specialized stores in those markets. I'm talking about these mixtures and honey itself, and we trade these at the domestic distribution. And with this local Miguel de Cuba, this will be the specialized stores to sell honey, purchase this product, and also to taste this jewel, based on the melliferous flowers that are so abundant in our country, without planting these flowers. And introduce fertilizers. As you all know, what it does is to affect the end product. We're talking about wild flowers, and this is the typical